Hello, hello, everybody. How are you? As always, I am so pumped to be here. And today I have the blessing of getting to chit chat with a fellow woman entrepreneur, local Portlander. And today we get to talk with Sarah Larsen, who is the owner of Balanced Home Organization, LLC. And I just really know and believe in my heart that we're going to have just an awesome conversation here today. And she's just going to be able to 100% bless your life, add value, and just share her journey and some tips along the way to help you as listeners just develop a little bit more time and peace through home organization. I know that having a organized home for myself has been very key in just bringing that peace to the house. And I just cannot wait to hear what insight she has to share from a professional standpoint. So Sarah, thank you so much for being here. I would love to just hear just a backstory on your business and how you got started and why you do what you do, and just go ahead and share your story.
Okay, great. Thank you so much for having me. I'm really excited to be here. I am a professional home and life organizer, so I help people organize their physical space, but also the mental clutter that's up there, thinking about all of the things that you have to do during the day and creating a schedule and helping yourself get organized. So it's the physical environment and more of the mental space as well, as they definitely go hand in hand. And so a few years ago, my boys were 1 and 3, and my house was not organized. It was a time in my life where there was bottles everywhere and diapers, and just really in the thick of it as a mom. And I felt really out of control and lost, and just was trying to regain some kind of footing. I loved being a mom, but I just felt really overwhelmed. And my mother-in-law actually sent me the Marie Kondo book about getting organized, the joy of tidying up.
Yeah.
And honestly, it sat on my shelf for a while because I was busy, and she kept prodding me and encouraging me to read it. And so I did. And as soon as I cracked that book open, I read it from cover to cover in one day.
Wow.
And it gave me the inspiration to get started. And she talked a lot about taking control of your life again, and that really spoke to me in that moment. And so I started with something that a space in my house that did not make me feel good, and that was my closet. Being a mom, being pregnant twice, and then not loving every time I walked into the closet, I would see those clothes staring at me that didn't fit anymore. So it was really cathartic to purge the things that didn't make me feel good anymore, and that I knew wouldn't have value to me going forward. And it just took a couple of hours to go through every single thing. And once it was organized, I felt so much better. It was amazing how something like a closet could make me feel that much better about myself and my self-esteem. And it just gave me that confidence that I needed and the courage to move forward. And so over the next year, I spent, it took me a while because I had the kids. We did every single space in our entire house, from the attic all the way through the garage. And it doesn't have to take a year. It can just take a week.
Wow, that's impressive though.
But we just went slow and steady because that was our life back then, and we didn't hire an organizer. And as I went through each room, I just felt more and more and more in control. And I just think that having less physical clutter then allowed me to look through some of that mental clutter that had been there for a really long time. You all know that the thoughts that just sit up there and swirl and things, the to-do list that goes on forever. And so the next thing I did was try to tackle that. That's where that life organization piece comes in. So the home organization piece was done, and it really just gave me that permission to move forward and start dealing with all that mental clutter. So trying to get finances in order. I think financial health and wellness is very important. So getting
Definitely.
that under control, and then, looking at just all the different areas of my life that I had put on hold for so long as a new mom. And I just created lists, and then started setting goals, and started finding ways to work through those goals. And that just really helped me get to the place where I am right now. I realize that this is something that a lot of, not just new moms, but a lot of people, anybody of all age, can benefit from, especially if you're one of those people that it's hard to get started. And in that moment when I was overwhelmed, it was very hard for me to get started. Didn't know where to start. And that's the common thing that I hear from my clients is, I just don't know where to start, but I need help. And so
Yeah.
I think just getting organized allows you to move forward and accomplish your goals and start having a nice sense of confidence.
Totally. I love that. Confidence is so key. And when you have like just a clear mind, it does, when you have that clarity, it does bring so much more peace and confidence into your life. And so let's say there's a busy mom who is just feeling really overwhelmed, kind of in that situation. If, she's got a couple of kids and just life has just become overwhelming, where would you say would be the very first place to start to get on the right track?
Yeah, I think that's a great question. I think sitting down and really assessing what your goals are, figuring out how does your space feel right now? How does your physical space feel right now? And how do you want it to feel? So getting a sense of understanding of where you want to go. And also thinking about how you want to feel. How does your space, make you feel, and where do you want that to go? What do you want it to, what purpose do you want the house to serve? And then also sitting down and thinking about little things that drive you crazy. So I usually recommend that people start in the area that drives them the most crazy. So for some of my clients, that's their garage. They open the door twice a day and they can't get through it. And so that's the biggest pain point, and that's where we start first. For other people, it's my bathroom drawer in the morning drives me crazy. So that's where we start. So maybe thinking about the places that are the biggest pain points for you so that you can tackle that. And then that will give you the confidence and the skills that you need to move forward. But if you're too busy and overwhelmed, you can just definitely call somebody else.
Yeah.
Like myself.
Totally.
And I'll come out and help you figure out a plan of attack, and we'll go from there.
Okay, so that's really good insight. I like that. Like, go to a place that is kind of like maybe makes you feel anxious, or you're just like, I'm annoyed, I'm gonna shut that door or whatever it might be. What about so you've got your space that can be overwhelming, but then you were saying your budget or just like your thought process. And I really like how you work hand in hand with both. I think that that's something that definitely sets you apart from other organizing companies, because in my mind, like when I think of a professional organizer, I'm like, okay, I'm going to hire you to come in and organize my closets. But I really like how you utilize your experience, because you were an occupational therapist, that's your background. So you're really able to tie that aspect into like a more holistic approach to why being organized is important. And so from like another just example of a busy mom is like who's, the house is overwhelming, but also like her thoughts and her other areas of life are overwhelming. Would you say that it's better to get that mental piece kind of figured out before they start with their home? Or would you say like the home should be done first and then you can work on those more deeper areas after that? Like what is your suggestion?
Yeah, that's a really great question. And yes, being an occupational therapist gives me a really holistic lens to look through. And so during all of my sessions, I'm always looking at the physical environment and the social piece of it and the emotional piece and the mental piece, looking at every aspect and how they all fit together. And I have found that most of my clients feel best when their physical space is organized first, because when we look around us, we're still, if we're trying to get through all the mental clutter, we still have all the physical clutter around, and it really is a roadblock for a lot of people. So usually we get the physical space organized first and then do the mental clutter, because then it gives you a kind of a fresh perspective, and you've already gained momentum. At that point, you already know that you can do it, and you start gaining confidence, because the sessions are really side by side. I work side by side with my clients, because they're the only ones that can make decisions about what goes and what stays. Of course, I coach them through letting go of things. If they have, 15 cheese graters, then we could probably part with 14 of them.
Right.
But yeah, I find that most clients really appreciate going the direction of getting the house organized and then the mental clutter. But I'm open to whatever. If somebody wants to start on the mental clutter first, we certainly can go that direction. And typically what that looks like is we sit down and talk about what are the pain points there? What is the most challenging part of their day? What do they wish was different? And what do they want? What are their hopes and goals and dreams for the future? And so it really, just is a place to be a dreamer and figure out, how do we want to move forward? So then we set some goals, we set some long-term goals, and then break that down into short-term goals. And then there's a lot of hands-on teaching that comes in with teaching moms and just busy professionals. And I actually have taught some older adults as well how to use their cell phones. So it's not
Nice.
just busy moms, but I work with all sorts of people. I worked with a dentist in a dental practice. So teaching people about different apps and tools that would work best for them. I'm very client-centered. So I like to think about, are they a paper type of person? Is paper organization best for them, or is digital organization best for them? And then I make really tailored suggestions on how to create a schedule for their day, so that they know what's going on that day. They can look at it the night before, and it helps to decrease anxiety, because then they know, okay, well, tomorrow, these are the 3 things that I was hoping to accomplish, and this is how I'm going to do it. And so just making a step-by-step approach and helping them to find just really tailored tools. And then I just offer ongoing coaching as well. So if somebody is feeling like we've had 5 or 6 sessions and their life feels pretty organized and it's on track, I offer accountability sessions where I can just pop in for 15 minutes a week and say, hey, I know you really wanted to do X, Y, and Z this week. I'm just checking in to see how you're doing on that. Do you need any more help with that? So there's all sorts of ways that I help people to get organized and move their lives forward.
I love that. It sounds like you just have a very just wholesome approachable approach to making people feel very comfortable with what could be a very uncomfortable scenario. You think about people who maybe are a little bit embarrassed about what they have going on in their home or within just their life organizing, and it just seems like you really have that like peacefulness about you, where you can make people just feel really comfortable to like open up their world of chaos. Right? So it's kind of like you're helping people get their chaos put away, find a place for all of it, and then move on with their life.
Absolutely.
So I really love that.
I'm glad that you brought that up. That is usually the first thing that I say to people when they call me or we have our consultation, is that I will not judge you. I have seen it all in 18 years of working in hospitals and lots of years of doing home organization. There's absolutely no judgment. My whole goal is to simplify people's lives, not add any stress to their lives. And you're right. The first time that I walk in somebody's house, there's usually a lot of apologies that go on. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry about this. And I just tell my clients, there's no need. That's why I'm here, is to help you simplify your life and help you live in a space that you're really proud of, and that you can invite people over, and that you don't have to hide that closet anymore, or that office door doesn't need to be closed. I really want to help you be in a space that you love to be in, and there's no judgment.
I love that. That's really great to hear. And I'm sure people listening are like, gives them kind of that breath of fresh air of like, okay, well, maybe I could ask for help, right? Maybe I shouldn't be embarrassed or ashamed of what I have going on. Maybe I could fix this and then be able to move on and be able to live the best life possible. So
Definitely. Yeah, I think just making that call is the hardest part, or sending the email. I think once people get over that initial fear and then we have our consultation, then I think that allows people to really, it gives them permission to be like, okay, I need help. Here's somebody who's going to help solve my problems. I can do this. And I think just that initial call just really gives them that confidence of, okay, I'm finally doing something about this after years of not doing something, and this is going to be a great experience.
yeah, perfect. I love that. So, with all of your experience, it sounds like you've got a number of different ways to help and different people that you can work with and different areas of their home and, of their life. But for you personally, what is like your ideal client? Who do you really truly get the most out of serving? Like who, like when you're serving on a client, who brings you the most joy to work with?
Well, I love working with everybody. Because I love puzzles and I love solving problems and helping people, that's why I became an occupational therapist and then a home organizer. So I really enjoy it all. I would say my most common types of clients are busy moms, are
Okay.
the largest category. And then the second largest category is actually older adults who don't have the physical abilities to do the things that they need to do anymore. And so they hire me I help them do a lot of downsizing. So if somebody's living in a house and they're going to be moving into assisted living or moving in with family members, I help them to declutter and pack and get ready for that move. And then after they move, I help them unpack and get organized in their new space. So that's the second most populous group. And then I work with a lot of people with executive functioning differences. So people who have ADHD or ADD or chronic disorganization. I would say those are the three most widely used population of
Okay.
people who I work with, but I also work with just busy professionals who have intense jobs where they work 40 to 60 hours a week and they just don't have the time to keep up with it all. But I'll work with anybody.
Okay. Cool. No, that's good to know. I think it's nice to kind of have like an idea where somebody might be listening to this, right, in the Portland market, and they've got somebody that comes to mind that is a busy mom, and they see that they need help with their organizing, and then they can, go to the show notes of this podcast and go in and find you. And I 100% relate to the busy mom, busy professional side of things. And I know you're a mom, you have two boys,
2 boys, yes.
right?
Yes.
And so from a busy mom, entrepreneur perspective, what are like some of your like top maybe 3 tips for moms to incorporate now, things that they could do on their own to kind of really hone in the chaos and get things on track a little bit, just to bring more peace that they could do just themselves?
Yeah, well, I think one really important thing is to do what I call a brain dump, sitting down and getting all the stuff out of your head. Whatever it is, whether you do it digitally on a computer, like in Microsoft Word, or if you do it in a notepad, dump everything that's up here and get it out, because it gives you so much freedom and it helps you to really feel out what's important for you. And there are a lot of goals come out because they have that giant to-do list of all the things that are swirling up there, and giving yourself permission to take it out and put it on paper, and then you can figure out a strategy of how you want to tackle that. I think that having a schedule.
Can I ask a
Go ahead.
question to that?
Yes, of course.
So how often do you recommend people do a brain dump? Is it like every day? Is it in the morning? Is it at night? Like, could you do
That's a
a little bit
great
more detail?
question. That's a great question. I would say just do it the first time, do a really big one, and then figure out, are you going to use that paper or that computer program, or are you going to find an app that helps you to then organize it from there? And anytime you have any thought, go ahead and add it to that list, because that list ultimately becomes your to-do list, right?
Okay.
It's all the things that are swirling that you need to get done. And now it just becomes your to-do list. So if you're getting ready to go to bed and you think of like 5 things that you need to do, I would run to the paper or the computer, wherever you're going to keep that list, and get it out of your head, because then it allows you to transition to sleep or to having family time without having all of those thoughts swirling around up there. It just gives you permission to leave that behind, because you know at some point it will get done, but now you don't have to be mentally putting all that energy towards it. So
Okay.
anytime you have a thought, just put it in that place, in whether it's digital or paper, whatever works best for your brain.
I'm thinking like the notes section on my iPhone. Like that always seems to be a common place where I probably need to go back and do a brain dump of all my notes.
Yeah, the notes is really great. I also love, so this is tip number 2. I love the app Trello. Trello is wonderful and it's free. And I teach a lot of my clients to use Trello. It's pretty intuitive on its own, but I do work with a lot of people on downloading that and figuring out how to organize it so that it makes sense for their particular needs. But that's a really great app. So I would download that. That's tip number 2. And that is a place where I organize all my thoughts. So you have different sections in Trello where you can have different boards. They're basically idea boards. And so I have a balanced home organization board where I keep everything that I need to do for my business. And I personally organize it where it's something that I need to do this year, this month, this week, and today. And then once you're done with the items, you can move it to the done section. And then I also have a personal board of all the things that I need to get done for my kids or around the house or just, household types of things. And I use it the same way, long-term goals to short-term goals, which my short-term goals are my daily goals. So I think Trello is a really good way to help you to organize those thoughts if you're a digital person. That's one that I would highly recommend.
Cool. Is that Trello?
It is, yes.
Okay. You just go to your app store and it's there and you just download it.
Yep, it's there. It's free. If you start using it for a business or getting all these other people that you want to add to it, then I think that there's a paid version of it. But if you're just using it for you, it's free, which is great.
Cool.
And then the third recommendation would be time blocking. And so what that is looking at your daily schedule, either the night before or the morning that you wake up, whatever works best for your life, and figuring out, so you're going to take your things from your brain dump or that are on Trello and figure out what time that you're going to get those things done. So it's a systematic approach, right? So you're going to think about, okay, I really need to make a cake because my son's birthday is the next day. So you're going to figure out, okay, what time during the day am I going to do it? Oh, looks like I have some free time from 1 to 2. And you're literally going to block that out on your calendar. And if you use a paper calendar or a digital calendar, it's up to you. But blocking that and putting exactly what you're going to be doing, baking cake.
Yeah.
So that way you know that at 1 o'clock it's going to get done. So it takes that mental piece out of it, because you know it's going to happen and you know when it's going to happen. And that helps you to stay accountable if your day starts to unravel, like it does for a lot of us busy people. Totally. Is that things start to unravel. So just checking back in with your schedule frequently, but blocking out times. Like if family dinner is really important to you and you want to make sure that happens because you do work a lot, then you want to say from 6 to 7 is family time. So nothing else can happen during that time. Turn off all distractions, limit things from coming into your mind so that you can just be fully engaged. But time blocking is really good because you can refer back to it all day long, and it helps you to really figure out, what am I doing today? Yeah. And what am I doing tomorrow?
Totally. Do you time block from the time you wake up until the time you go to sleep? Do you kind of do it hour by hour, or do you do it in more chunks of time?
That's a great question. So for me personally, I like to have a little more of a free-flowing day because I am home with my kids and it's summertime. Yeah. So what I do is I take the 2 or 3 tasks on Trello that I have told myself that I need to get done, and I time block those on my next day or on the day of. And then I work my real life in around that, the play and the fun and the spontaneity. And so that works really well for me because I then know that I have these 3 appointments that I'm going to do today, and I can do whatever I need to in between those 3 things. But I I owe it to myself, and that it's really important to me that I get those 3 things done, or one thing. I mean, maybe it's one thing.
Right.
But I do have clients that really need to have every minute accounted for, or else they lose track of time and forget what they're supposed to be doing. So again, it's really going back to that client-centered piece of figuring out what works best for you and your day.
Right. And you can probably help people figure that out too,
Yeah,
probably based upon how they are, their personality, what they really need, whether they thrive on structure or if too much structure causes more chaos.
or more anxiety,
So,
right?
right.
Yes, yes. So it's very, very client specific.
Oh my gosh, that is so helpful. And that's so tactical too. I mean, those are all 3 things that we can do, right? We can do a brain dump, do one massive big brain dump, and then dump throughout the day and use Trello as that piece to kind of put the brain dump and then the to-dos in order, and then time block to help accomplish those tasks that you want to do to move forward. So those
Yeah.
are really, really good, just great tips. So thank you so much for that. I just feel like you're adding so much value and I love it. And it's just fun to know, like, even as a busy mom, just to have those simple tools to just get you back on track, right? I think sometimes we can be on a really tight structure, we're moving forward, and then life can happen and we can get off track. And just like giving yourself grace when life does happen and you get a little bit off track, just having like that system to plug back into, of knowing like, okay, I had, a week vacation, or it's summer and we've had, lots of different things going on, but then just like that basic system to plug back into and regroup, reframe, and then get back on track.
Absolutely. And I think because you've taken it out of your brain and put it somewhere else, it just really allows people to go on a week-long vacation and have fun, because when you get back, you're going to get those things done. And
Yeah.
and part of that whole time blocking and Trello and brain dumping is about helping you to identify also what home organization pieces that you want to do. So those 3 strategies are a lot of life organization tips that I gave, but those help to allow you to figure out, okay, well, what do I want to tackle in the house? So they intermingle with each other. They're very much related to each other. And so maybe part of that Trello board says, I need to organize my silverware drawer because it drives me crazy. Well, then that becomes a to-do action item that goes onto your schedule, schedule blocking. So I think that they're interchangeable, and it just helps people to move back and forth fluidly through both of the spaces. And it's a very holistic way of looking at the whole piece.
Cool. I love that. Well, thank you so much, Sarah. I got so much out of this, and I want to be respectful of your time. And I know you're a busy mom, you're, making things happen within your business. And I would just love for people to be able to find you and request your services, especially I know you're based out of Sherwood, Oregon. And so what areas of like the Portland metro do you typically serve?
Yeah, that's a great question. So I serve the Portland metro area. So Portland, Beaverton, Hillsborough, Forest Grove, Clackamas, Happy Valley. I usually stay within a 25-mile radius, but I'm happy to travel further than that if people really need help. So don't be afraid to reach out and just have a conversation, because we can typically make it work.
Cool. What's the best way for people to find you?
Well, I think going through the website is a nice way to look for me, because then you can see there's a gallery of all my projects that I've done, and you can get a lot more information, and it's balancedhomeorganization.com, or you
Perfect.
can always email me. And I think that you're going to include the email,
Yep.
the phone number. So any of those ways, whatever works best for you in your life. You can text message me, go through the website, whatever is easiest for you. Again, it's all about simplifying. So
Perfect. So it sounds like your website obviously will have all the information, and I'm going to link all that in the show notes. What about like Instagram or Facebook? Would that be a good way for people to reach out, or would you prefer like via your website?
either way, I'm on Facebook. It's Balanced Home Organization. So if you just look for that within Facebook. And also I'm on Instagram, and it's at Balanced Home Organization and PDX. So yeah, find me there. Any way that works for your life, whatever is easiest for you.
Cool. I love that. And I love all the tips that you put on Instagram specifically. I know that that's how we got connected, and it's just basic, simple tips, but totally applicable. So,
thank you. Thank you.
Great. Do you have anything else you'd like to add that you think could, add value to the rest of this podcast, or what are your final thoughts?
My final thoughts are just, I know this is a challenging time right now in our world, and give yourself some grace, cut yourself some slack. There's just so many unknowns and so much going on that, just be kind to yourself. And if you're ready to tackle some of that, you're looking around, you're feeling kind of stuck at home, there's a lot going on, I can support you and help you through that journey. But just be kind to yourself. It's just an interesting time right now.
Yes, it is. Well, thank you so much, Sarah. This has just been so much fun. I appreciate you, again, just taking the time. And I look forward to being able to work together, do some business together, and just continue to support one another, especially from just an entrepreneurial women just standpoint. I just think that there's just so much power in those relationships, and it's so much fun, right?
I agree. And I really enjoy, there are times where I work with clients who need to have their house professionally cleaned. And so it's always fun to have you as a reference point to, I go in and help them get all organized and set up systems and teach them about ways to maintain that. But then there's the deep cleaning that needs to be happening as well. And so it's a nice partnership where I can then refer to you and your business and help my clients then to continue on their journey of having a nice, organized and clean space. So it's been fun to work with you on that.
Totally. Well, thank you so much, Sarah. And thank you all for listening. It has been so much fun as always. And we look forward to catching up with you all soon. All right. Have a great day.